JPEG or RAW? Greetings all. Today's discussion we're going to be talking a bit about JPEG and RAW files and the difference between the two. So I think today's bit of a plan is going to be to take a couple of photos, do some in JPEG, I'll do some in RAW and show you the difference. Where I want to be for this morning, so I'm going to quickly get set up and we'll talk about this JPEG and RAW. Cue the time lapse. Right. So first off, JPEG. JPEG actually stands for the Joint Photographic Expert Group, hence the file extension name of JPEG. And if you look back, there's actually two file extensions for JPEG. One's JPG, one's JPEG, and all that goes back for many years of where years ago file extensions could only be 3 letters on certain machines and it could be more on others, so it had the two different file types. So the group itself was Mitsubishi Electrics, IBM, Canon, AT&T. And the reason they designed this standard, which official release date was September 1992. And the reason that this standard was actually released was because they needed a way to compress images for transmitting over the birth pretty much of the internet. It really became really popular. But photographs at the time images were very large, so they needed a way to compress them but still keeping the quality and colour and detail and everything that they needed. So you're going to ask the question is why you don't always use JPEG, and photographers like myself like to use RAW. And the main thing about JPEG is the way that it compresses the images. So basically what it's doing is when you take your photograph on your camera, is it will get rid of any information that it doesn't need. For example, say that there are certain colour scales within the photo that's not needed, a certain blue, a certain type of grey and all this, it'll remove it. When you take a photograph with your camera, when you see it on the back, it's actually a JPEG, it's not the RAW file, that's actually your camera's converted it to a JPEG. To give you an idea what the photo looks like, on your mobile phone, when you're using your mobile phones, you'll take the image and you'll see it as a JPEG. Now all cameras, whether it's your mobile phone, your DSLR or your mirrorless and your bridge cameras and this sort of thing, they all have the capability of creating a RAW file. So what's the RAW file? Well, basically the RAW file is its natural state. It's everything. All of the detail that is possibly going to be there is going to be there in the file size, and the file sizes are huge, they're big. So the downside of this is it takes more space up on your memory card of your camera. So if you put it in JPEG, you probably get 1,000 photos, but if you put it in RAW, you're probably going to get about 300-400 if you're lucky. But the difference being is that when you come to post-production of your photographs, it's a lot more difficult to try to rescue certain colours or tones or this sort of things in a JPEG file. It is really difficult. It's not impossible, but it is really difficult. As where in the RAW file, you've got all of the information there for you to, you know, fine-tune that image, increase the highlights, increase the shadows. You can change the saturation slightly if the colour's not quite right. And so all of the information is there for you to do this, which you can't do in JPEG. Which do you use? Well, I've got the way I use this is if I'm going to be out like I am now, and I'm going to be doing some post-production at home, I'm going to shoot in RAW. And the reason being is because when I get home, I can alter, change the highlights and saturation and all sort of business to get the photo how it should, because how you see it and how camera sees things are two different things. So when I get home, I like to get them to how I saw it. And yeah, sometimes I'm probably going to bump up saturation to give it a bit of a wow factor and this sort of thing, you know, as you do. But if I'm going out and I'm not going to be doing any post-production on the work, and just say I'm taking some photos of a friend that I want to share instantly, I'm not going to do that in RAW. I'm going to do that in JPEG because it's going to do all a little bit in that for me, and I can just send it straight away. So you've got to look at what it is that you want, what is it you do, and to what you're going to use. And me personally, I'd stick with RAW. So give a bit of an example. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take when the sun rises this morning, I'm going to take two photos. We'll do one in JPEG. So that's the camera's going to compress it and all the rest of it, and I'm going to do the same one in RAW, and then when I get home, we'll compare the two. Okay, so right, I've just jumped a bit. Just going to show you the difference between the JPEG, which is obviously your device, like your camera, your phone, whatever it is, that's converted them to a JPEG. So I'm going to show you the JPEG. I'm then going to show you the unedited RAW file. You'll see the difference between the two, and then my edited version of the photo. And this will give you a bit of an idea of a RAW file. When you look at them, they look flat and you think uninspiring, you think ooh. But the whole idea is because nothing has been edited, nothing at all, nothing's been changed. And that's where you do your editing on the RAW file. You see, the JPEG has already been done because your device, i.e. your camera, has already done that for you. And it's done it the way that, to the JPEG standard. And then what I've done as well is, right at the very end, I have also got another photo which is something that you can't do in JPEG. So if you set your camera to JPEG, you can't do this. You can't do these long exposures, high dynamic range, which is what I have done. So, and then you'll see the difference between, or hopefully you should see the difference then between the JPEG, the RAW, and so on. Does that make sense? I'm confusing myself. So anyway, this is the JPEG that the camera has done, and you can see that it's sort of got some nice colours and that out of there, you know, with the sun rising. But the problem is you've lost a lot of detail and colour in the groin, which is just to the right, and it looks very dull and boring on that first part. So it hasn't really brought out, obviously, what I wanted to show. So let's go on to the RAW. Now the RAW, as you can see here, it's very flat. There's no colours or anything. It doesn't, you think, why would you shoot in RAW? Well, the reason being is because from that, when you do your post-production, you get this. Which, if you look between them, you'll see that I've now got the detail, I've got some colour in the groin, I've also got the real nice colour orange from that sun as it was rising. The star effect, obviously, that's just done by a real small aperture. high F number, and I've got a video coming up that's going to explain why it does the star effect when you do that. But anyway, another video for that one. Oh yeah, so don't forget to subscribe if you want to see it. So you can see the difference there between the three, which is why really, if you're letting your device do the editing for you, so you're going to shoot straight to JPEG, it's losing a lot of detail, a lot of colour. So for me, that's why you shoot in RAW, because then you can actually get all of the details out of that file and create something that's a lot different. And then back to me on the beach. Which do I use? Yeah, I'm going to say 99% of the time I do shoot in RAW. That's purely because I do editing at home, you know, a bit of touch up here and there. But there is that 1% where I don't. A lot of that is just if I'm just out and just want to take a few quick snaps and not going to edit them or anything like this, you know. If I'm practicing things as well, sort of like, so if I'm going out and practicing just composition, where I'm not really going to be doing any editing or anything like this, and it's just to get a look and a feel for things, you know. And so yeah, just look at it and what you're doing and use accordingly. That's my view on it. And it's that time of day where I need my bacon sandwich and my cup of tea, so I'm going for that one. Anyway, I hope you found this useful anyway, guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, stay safe, I will see you soon.